All right. So, Michelle, thank you for joining us. I have some people in the office in the background. And then, of course, I have some questions for you. But for our audience, which will be the agents in our office that will see this recording later, I'm Leanne. Thanks for joining us today. And I have brought in
Sorry about that. I thought I turned it on silent, and they keep calling me back.
Michelle with Flawless Staging here in Cincinnati, right?
Yes.
To answer some questions for us. So,
yeah.
Michelle, welcome. And first off, tell us about yourself. What is your business? What was your why for starting it? And there you go.
Okay, so I started, I guess, going on like 4 years ago. I actually studied design. I always say I was a design dropout in my early 20s. And I ended up getting a job in sales, was there for 10 years. And then when I started having my boys, we started flipping some houses. At that time, one of them in Amberley Village was a very odd floor plan, and we decided to hire a staging company. So we hired one of the biggest in the area. I won't use the name. And I was not impressed whatsoever. And this was probably 8 years ago. I think things have changed now because I do follow this particular stager, and I feel like I like their stuff more now. I was not happy with what was put in, and my bill was, it was just incredibly high. So at that time, like, my husband was like, you could have done better. And I was like, yeah, you're right. As the boys got a little bit older over the years, I then was just kind of like, I was like, you know what? Like, it's something that like stuck in my head. And believe it or not, my neighbors had a house that was struggling. So they had already moved out, and I just decided, I was like, hey, I'm going to stage your house for you. And they were like, okay, go for it. So it had sat on the market for quite a few months. We staged it. It sold. Okay, so that was kind of how I got started. I thought that, I know a lot of realtors. I've been in Westchester, pretty much between Fairfield and Westchester my whole life. I graduated from Lakota, so I know a lot of people. My parents are realtors. I thought that I would just do a couple houses here and there, and I ended up getting started pretty quickly, like with more and more houses, way faster than I guess I expected. I think part of that reason is because I do operate a little bit different than most stagers as far as my cost and how I do things. And part of my parents kind of said, hey, with them being realtors, if you did this or worked this way, I think people would be more interested in staging. So I actually say that I deal with a lot of people that would normally stage like smaller homes that aren't really high price, because I do affordable staging. So, but that's pretty much how I got started 4 years ago. And then I just got to where I am now, which the past week or two, I've been working almost every day. So I'm pretty busy these days.
Okay. And we certainly value your time for joining us today, so thanks again. But what exactly is staging? Can it be just one room, or is it always the whole house, or is there a particular room that does better?
So I do two types of actual staging. I do vacant staging, which is I go in and I furnish different rooms. And I always say, when you have a vacant house, I think every stager has kind of a different view on this. My view is I don't believe in overkill. You could stage every room of a house, but that's just going to cost more for the homeowner. So vacant staging, I usually go in and I discuss with the homeowner or the realtor what rooms that we feel are going to give the biggest impact. Okay. So, and normally, just to give an example, like always a kitchen, always the main living area. And then if there's any rooms that are a little bit odd, you know what I mean? Like, a room in the basement or a room in the lower level that can be considered a bedroom or can be considered an office, but nobody has, is able to visualize that. So that's vacant staging. I also do quite a bit of occupied staging. I have been doing a lot of this recently. And occupied staging is when they do live in the home and I bring in stuff. When I do occupied staging, I first meet with the homeowners and I usually tell them to allow at least an hour. And I would like them available to walk around with me with a paper, pen, and I go around the home and we discuss different things that they need to get rid of and put away, and then things that I am going to bring in, okay? Which I always say occupied staging can be a little bit tricky because you have to tell people why they have to move out their stuff, but then bring in your stuff.
Without insulting them, right?
Exactly. So there's a fine line. I'm usually pretty good with people. So I try to customize, to their personalities. And a lot of times I make sure that I pick pieces that they have that, I'm like, oh, this is great. We could really use this. But then I have to go into another room and pretty much tell them we got to get rid of everything. Yeah. So those are the two different types of staging that I do, occupied and vacant.
Okay. What, as agents, how could we sell staging to a homeowner? I mean, what can we say? What's a power phrase we can use to say, this is what you really need to do because it's going to get you sold? They're going to
well, so again, I don't know if there's for me, there's not an exact phrase because it all depends on who you're talking to. Some people understand it. Some people are completely against it. Some people, you know what I mean? So the one thing that I always say is it's the same concept as a model home. Okay. Those houses look great. Everything is perfect. You're getting sold not only on the home, but kind of the furniture. You know what I mean?
Well, like the potential. So, yeah.
Yeah. When I go in and, I tell a lot of times, first of all, vacant homes just don't sell as well. People nitpick every little thing in a vacant home. Okay. Plus people don't have vision. So when you put furniture in a vacant home, you're help take the eye off of any little imperfections. Even if it's a rehab, there's still imperfections. I just did one in Westchester and there's paint all over the floor. I'm not going to sit there and scrape the paint up, but my furniture is definitely helping the situation. But they were sloppy and it was a sloppy rehab. But I tell people, you need to come out of the gates strong. You're going to get your most of your showings at the very beginning. When you stage, where it be occupied or vacant, you're coming out of the gate strong. Okay. You're making your home look picture perfect. We want your home to look like a magazine. Even if you don't have the picture perfect furniture, I go in and I put white towels because I tell people, I'm like, who has white towels? I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, we're going to put white towels in your house. Everything just needs to look clean and crisp because the better your house looks, the better that people feel that you've taken care of your house. So it's a great first impression. You need a strong first impression. So, but I think as far, I just tell people the model home all the time. I'm like, it's the same concept. But again, there's not really one certain way to go about it. It really depends on your clients and who you're dealing with and then what they need. You know what I mean? Like some people need to declutter and have red walls and their style just isn't that great. So you have to approach everybody a little bit different depending on what type of staging they need and what needs to be done.
Okay. No, I like that. That was excellent. And then lastly, and then we'll see if we have any other questions, but what's your view and your prediction of this market right now? I know you said you're extremely busy.
So first of all, going back to 4 years ago when I got into staging, I kind of thought, and especially over the past couple of years, the market's good. Do people even really need stagers? You know what I mean? And I've been busy because, I have one realtor that I work for. I've worked with 5 or 6 houses that he's listed just this month. So he does a lot of volume. He has me step foot in every single, I would say I step foot in 95% of the homes he does, which he's mainly out of Westchester or Mason. He does other ones as well. But, so I thought 4 years ago that you wouldn't need staging. But like this particular realtor says, when you go in and we put your things in and we stage, my houses are selling higher. They're selling above what I would normally list them for. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of people are seeing that, even though the market's really good, stage houses help you get more offers and help them sell higher. So believe it or not, with a great market and houses going in 30 days, I've stayed extremely busy. So I really don't know what I think the market's going to do. I'm very interested to see. And then as the rates I'm assuming the reason I'm getting killed right now is because people selling homes know that the rates are going up and everybody's trying to get their house on them, because I'm getting like calls of urgency. Like, I can't wait 3 days. I can't, because, I had a house that I said, I can't do till next Thursday, or this coming Thursday, I guess. And they were like, well, we need it done, sooner.
They want to get while the getting's good.
I know. So I'm getting extra busy. I'm wondering if it's going to slow down a little bit once the rates. So I don't know. I'm interested to see. I have a lot of friends that are realtors, lenders, all of that, and everybody kind of has a different opinion. So I think it's going to be interesting because I'm not really sure.
I do have one more question. I'm sorry, I skipped over. And you've kind of touched on this as we've talked, but what's the actual process? You do a consultation, you actually do the setup. What's the maintenance? Especially like in a vacant house, are you coming back and checking on that furniture? What's the average time? Because obviously you stage it to get it sold. When they go under contract, are you coming in and moving everything out then, or what's the actual process?
So I, again, operate different than most people. I do not charge for a consultation to go out and see a house, where I know a lot of stagers do. I don't do that because I tell people I have to see the house before I can really even give you an estimation of what the cost is, because I want to look at the size of the rooms. Pictures just don't do enough. I want to look at the size of the rooms, what rooms I feel is most important, and I need to do that by walking through the house. So I always do a free consultation. Sometimes people just give me the lockbox combo, say, call me. Sometimes people meet me there. Either way, I'm fine. So I go look at the house, and then I either, talk with the realtor or the homeowner and say, okay, like, these are the rooms I feel is going to make the biggest impact. But I also ask people, I'm like, what type of budget are you looking at? Because sometimes I can work with a budget. If they say, okay, here's the budget, what can I do with this budget? After we've agreed on the rooms and everything, we set a date. I send out a contract via DocuSign. And then I'm usually, as long as it's not a large home, I can be done by the end of the day. So and then pretty much I don't go back into and this is vacant staging. I do not go back into the home. I don't usually need to go back into the home. Back in the day when I first started, I used air mattresses. I came up with a system. I do not use air mattresses anymore. So my beds look like real beds. They're not. Don't sit on them. But they look like that. So there's no reason for me to go back and check on a house. I tell people, so as of right now, because the market's been good, I don't do monthly fees, which is very different from most stagers. Most of my houses, I move out within 30 some days. Every now and then I'll have a house that sits on the market, and usually it's the same thing. It's priced too high, or an inspection reason, and I can't change those things. So, but that is very rare. And I always say, well, I own a lot of furniture, so if I got a house that sits here for a minute, so be it. If the market does start to slow down and houses do start to sit on the market, I may change the whole monthly fee type thing. But even when I started 4 years ago, I did do a monthly fee, and I usually did it after 60 days. And the reason that I did that was because even if you get an offer within the first 30 days, and by the time you do appraisal and inspection, if it shoots you a couple days over into, you know what I mean, when all that's said and done, I'm not going to try to start charging, you know, I'm not here to like penny pinch people. So as of right now, I don't do monthly fees. And I don't go back to check on the furniture unless there's some case that I need to, but I don't. And then I don't remove the furniture. Usually I ask people, please give me a heads up, because I do get really busy. I've had calls before from a closing. We forgot about the furniture, Michelle. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Please don't do this to me. So, but I usually try to get through inspection, appraisal, and you need to make sure that, that the purchasing party is solid. You know what I mean? Like, you can usually, as a realtor, tell if they're being shaky or something's up. So usually when it gets to the end of the process, my realtors are really good about letting me know, but I don't jump to try to take the furniture out. Okay. Occupied staging. I go and meet with the homeowner. That time I'm usually there, like I said, about an hour, because I give them a punch list of things to do. It's not only me bringing things in, but I tell them what needs to be done. I'm kind of the bad guy. I have a lot of realtors that are like, will you come in? This house is really cluttered and I want you to come in and be the bad guy for me. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So I go in and I have to give them the bad news. Like, your laundry room's a mess. Your pantry's a mess. We got to stop cooking with strong spices, different things like that. So usually if I do an occupied consultation, I'm there at least an hour to give them the bad news. Then I schedule usually to come in at 9:30 on an occupied staging. I tell people expect me between 9:30 and 10, because the day that I do an occupied staging, I like the photographer to be there between 3 and 4. So the realtor needs to schedule, because I get the house completely ready. A lot of times I'll bring in bedding to put over their bedding. I want it picture perfect. I have to get rid of, all the trash cans. I can't stand rugs in bathrooms. It grosses me out. I tell them I don't want to see them in pictures. So I have to do all that sort of stuff right before the photographers come in and make sure everything looks perfect. In occupied staging, a lot of times people do, try to jump the gun. Oh, Michelle, we're under contract. Should you remove this stuff? And I say, let's get a little bit further in the process. But in that case, they're like, well, we got the bedding that's just over my bed, and we got stuff in the kitchen on the counters that look pretty. So then I tell them, find a spot in your house that you're safe with, an office or something, and all the stuff that's in your way, nicely fold up and let's put in the corner. But a lot of times the pictures on the walls and stuff like that, they don't get in their way. And I say, just nicely store it over there. And then, when it gets a little further through the process, call me and I'll come and remove all of that stuff. So, yeah, so that's pretty much the process.
Okay. Laura, do you have any questions?
I do. One is just a curiosity question. One's a real question.
Okay.
Nope, I can't hear her.
So I have two questions. One is just my own curiosity, and the other was actually a legit question. Can you hear me?
I got my volume all the way up. Yeah, that would be better if you don't mind.
Okay, she's going to come over here so you can hear.
The first one is like a curiosity question. What would you do if you walked into a house and the people who live there are smokers? Like, that's a hard one to say. Like, your house smells.
So, believe it or not, I've done well over 100 homes, and I've not had to do an occupied with smoking.
Oh, God.
So that, I'll be honest, I probably would, I would have to sit and talk with them. I've done other ones where you could tell a smoker had been there and lived there, and it really didn't affect my furniture. Or I probably put not my top of the line furniture in. I hate to say that, but first of all, if it's a smoking vacant house, I'm hoping the realtor, or at least me, if the realtor hasn't, would definitely tell them to paint, because paint and carpet, because your house is going to sell very low. But as far as an occupied staging, I have not had to deal with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with occupied staging, the only thing I ever worry about is, the cooking and the smells. And people, my clients, because I do a lot in Mason, so they cook with, I have clients that do cook with a lot of spices, and they're all really nice about it. And I say, we just don't want the strong smell, and even for showings, and they usually understand.
Okay.
But I may have to, for an occupied, if they smoked in the house, I don't know. I may have to actually probably say, I'm sorry, I couldn't do this.
I'm declining.
Yeah.
Because, it's my furniture, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I showed a couple houses on the west side and they were just really bad with smoking, but my buyers were smokers, so I thought, well, they can't smell it anyway, so it doesn't.
Right.
I could. So my other question, so that was more like a curiosity. You said in your occupied staging, you'll put a bedding over top of their bedding and take pictures. Okay, so then what happens after that when there's a showing? Do you need them to make the beds with your staging stuff? And do you feel confident that they do it nicely and all of that?
So I tell them, okay, because underneath my bedding is usually their bedding. Mine's usually just a quilt, pillows, and all of that sort of thing. I keep it really simple. I tell them to take a picture with their camera, but that's first of all, the reason when the pictures are taken from the real estate photographer, that's why I like to be there the day so they don't have a chance to mess it up. But then obviously after that, they might need to sleep in that bed or whatever. So I tell them to take a picture with their camera and try to make it back the best they can. But my beds are pretty simple. Like I said, it's usually like a white quilt with some really nice pillows.
Okay. I just envisioned you take all these great pictures and then people go to see it, it looks nothing like that.
Yeah. I tell them to take a picture and get it as close as they can. And I'm assuming usually they do. Now, I have a lot of people, I just did a house. They were going live over the weekend. So they went to a hotel for the weekend. They didn't want to be in the house, and it went pending. I have other people who sleep in the guest bedroom or, whatever if they need to, so whatever they need to do, I guess. But
No. Yeah. Do you have, and I'll ask you for your information too, but verbally, can you give us what your average cost is to a seller to use your services?
So it all depends on the size of the house. However, when I do occupied staging, for example, and let's say it's, I got quite a few in Mason right now that are probably around the 500s. And I bring in, some bedding and, pillows for the sofa, artwork, stuff like that. I bring in a lot of stuff for the bathrooms. I always do white towels with ribbon or burlap, wall piece, stuff like that. That usually runs between I would just say an average cost is $600 to $700. Okay. Now, when I do vacant staging, I usually and again, if it's a really big home, because I've looked at some really big homes this week, one was massive, and I'm oh gosh. When I talk massive, I'm talking massive. It had 2 full master bedrooms. I'm just well, which one are we staging? I guess we're going to do the one with the hot tub off of it. It's got a hot tub. That's how big this house is. So anyways, but let's just say a kind of a standard house. I kind of start the baseline, as a basic package is 3 rooms for, $1,100. So for example, when I say 3 rooms, a kitchen, including the kitchen table, all the stuff in the cabinets, the family room, and a master bedroom. Or I just did one a couple days ago in Westchester that should probably go live today. The 3 rooms that she picked were the kitchen, the family room, and we did an office. The master bedroom is big. It sold itself, and we wanted a real nice first impression coming in. And then it kind of goes up from there. I do not charge for bathrooms unless you have 6 or 7. I usually touch up the bathrooms. I tell people those are super easy, but I feel it also makes a big impact when you put some greenery, a picture, some nice clean towels and stuff like that. So I usually charge for the big rooms. If there's a laundry room that needs some baskets or a nice laundry room sign and stuff, I don't consider those rooms. Every now and then, my realtors got used to, they like me putting yoga mats in the basement in a little area to make it look like a workout. I don't charge that as a room either. So when I mean rooms, I'm talking big rooms, and then I'll add little things here or there throughout the house. But that's about where I start for an average home. But if it happens to be a really big main living area that needs, big sofas, multiple console tables, something like that, that would obviously change. That's why I always say no charge for me to go in and do an actual consultation and tell you what I think and what rooms would be the best area.
Okay. Well, this has been super informative, I think. It was a pleasure having you. Yeah, I was going to say, can you go ahead and I'll send this out in an email to tell us, your phone number, the name of the company, a website. How can we best get a hold of you?
Yes. Okay, you may just email you that.
We should say it if you could, but then email it to me too.
Oh, okay. I do have a website, which I haven't updated in a while. I haven't had time, but it does have a gallery and everything, but I probably haven't added pictures in the past couple years. It's flawlesshomestaging.com. Okay. It's flawless because my name is Michelle Lawless with an L. So kind of corny, but people remember. The best way to, and my phone number can be found on my website, but the best way to contact me is phone or even text. I love when people text me and say, hey, this is so-and-so, call me when you get a chance. And my phone number is 513-368-3622.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Good. Oh, do you know the address of the one that's going live that you just did?
If I can get my spreadsheet up, yeah.
Just so when we're looking through the new listings, we're like, oh,
it might actually. The only thing that I have a feeling she took the pictures herself, and I was not. I like when they send the professional photographers.
Sure.
Let's see.
Right.
Oh, I know. Send the professionals to do it. Let's see. I'm sorry. I have my upcoming ones on here too.
That's okay.
I think it's okay. Yeah, it's Furrow Court, 7847 Furrow Court in Westchester.
Okay.
Yep. I think it was. Right. I finished that one 2 days ago, so it should. I had, because she said, "Oh, I'll come in and take pictures." I was like, "Oh, you will take pictures?" So I have a feeling she was wanting to get it on live for this weekend. So.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on it. I'm sorry, you said Fair Oak?
Furrow. Furrow. It's gotcha. 7847.
Okay. Nope. We'll take a look at that when it comes out. All right.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'll make it sure. Okay.
I think you'll have a few people reaching out to you, and I really appreciate
anybody can call me with questions, like I said. And I also deal a lot with I have, like I'm getting ready to do one coming up on the 19th it was a nice house in Mason, and they had to pull it from the market. It just was not getting, and it's a nice home. It should be selling for higher, but things needed to be done. So a lot of times people do bring me in on houses that are struggling. They'll take them off the market, do a couple things, furnishing and stuff like that. So if people are having trouble with some houses, it's nothing to just call me. And I always say, let me look at it. Let me see what I can tell you. There's been times where I've even come across houses where I'm like, this house doesn't even need staging. You need to call every rehabber that and see who will buy it, who will take it, So I always give my honest opinion on a home. So.
Good. That's invaluable. So. All right. Well, thanks again, Michelle. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
We'll talk soon. All right. Bye-bye.